Welcome, audience, to KBA Vendor Viewpoint. This is Selena Parrish, KBA Director of Membership Products and Services. Today, we are featuring KBA Endorsed BHG Bank Network and the BHG Loan Hub. I am excited to have Jordan Sollars with us today. She's BHG's VP for Institutional Relationships, and also Andy Hunt, VP and Chief Financial Officer with Farmers Bank and Trust Company in Marion. Thank you so much for being with us today. And Jordan, tell our audience all about the BHG Loan Hub and what you're doing for community banks throughout Kentucky.
Hi, Selena. Thank you so much. It is a pleasure to be here with you today alongside our community bank partner, Andy Hunt. I just want to say thank you for the opportunity for having us and joining you on the podcast today. As Selena mentioned, for all of those listening, my name is Jordan Sollars. I manage the community bank relationships in the state of Kentucky for the BHG Bank Network and BHG Financial, which essentially includes traveling all over the state of Kentucky, meeting with our bank clients, working with the KBA, prospecting new bank partners within the state. Just to give you some background briefly on BHG, we specifically target market highly skilled professionals across the US and originate loans within BHG's own platform and ultimately give our bank partners and community banks the opportunity to purchase those loans from the BHG Loan Hub. So we currently have over 1,500 bank partners throughout the US that buy BHG originated loans from us. And that leads me to say I am very happy to be here with one of my bank partners in the state of Kentucky, Andy Hunt, who is the CFO over at Farmers Bank and Trust Company. Andy, thanks for joining me today. Andy's been a BHG bank partner of ours since September of 2020, and the bank has purchased around 13 million of BHG's paper to date. So I'm super excited to have Andy join me and just want to give all of our listeners the opportunity to learn about the BHG program, but also hear firsthand from one of our bank partners on his experiences and just some of the ins and outs of the programs and the benefits. So Andy, thank you for joining me again. I'll let you, give your welcoming remarks, but my first question would be for you is how the initial partnership really worked on your end, and what was that initial process like to implement within the bank?
Jordan, thank you for having me today. It is good to be on this with you all to talk about BHG, which is a wonderful company that it is. The initial partnership was explained to me as you're going to purchase loans from professionals across the country. That could be through daily auctions where you're going to bid against somebody else, weekly silent bidding where you're not going to know what the other banks are bidding. Also, there's a marketplace where loans would be placed in there at static interest rates that would be available for purchase. You buy however many you want or however many you don't want. There's no requirement, no minimum that you have to buy in order to be a part of the BHG network. There's also no fees or anything that you pay to be part of the network. For each one of the loans that you would be interested in, you're going to have a loan file that completely resembles something that would be in your own bank. Have all the information that you would want in order to evaluate whether or not you're interested in a specific loan. And then once you purchase loans, BHG is going to put money into your bank in a checking account in their name. It'll be about 3% of the balances of your principal loan portfolio. And if a loan ever missed a payment, you're just going to simply debit the loan payment out of that checking account and then email collections, and then they do the BHG handles all that collections work for you. So there's nothing on that back end, the awkwardness with a borrower. And if you were to have to debit a payment, let's say 3 months in a row, so they haven't made a payment 3 times in a row, you could then request a substitution loan from BHG. BHG is going to provide a personal rep. Jordan obviously is ours. that helps you with any questions you have. There's going to be BHG earnings calls held quarterly. The calls will help banks understand what BHG is, and how the company's doing financially. And you also mentioned the implementation part of the bank, of the process. You go at your own pace with that. For us, we're typically going to move slow to implement a new idea due to we would like to do a lot of due diligence. And it took us probably 45 days from start to end to implement the program. That's going through a due diligence package, a sample policy, checking references, calling other banks that already have relationships with BHG, and then ultimately getting our board to approve the relationship.
Awesome. Great answer, Andy. I think that was an awesome overview for everyone listening. Following up with that, what were some of the most attractive benefits of the BHG program, not only from a profitability standpoint, but also a user-friendly experience?
For banks that are in highly competitive loan rate environments, or banks that have low loan to deposit ratios, this product is perfect to help with profitability, because what it's going to do is you're going to be able to purchase loans that are fully funded and be on the books in a couple days at what are typically high end of the current rate environment. As our bank, we're always looking for ways to be able to grow or increase our profitability without adding people or systems to the bank. And that's exactly what BHG's done for us. I literally dedicate probably an hour or less each month to the portfolio as it stands right now. The friendly, user-friendly standpoint that you mentioned, the website is continually being improved. It's super easy to use, super easy to understand. You can find what you're looking for on there without a lot of effort. Additionally, you, Jordan, and others at BHG, they get back with you quickly. If maybe on occasion you're like me and you let something slip in the cracks every once in a while, BHG is the person you're dealing with will follow up with you and make sure it doesn't get by everyone.
Awesome. Now, there's several different loan networks out there. I know banks have, a lot of different avenues that they can partner with, either, fintech lending institutions or other partnerships. And, realistically, they all work a little bit differently for the bank and what they're looking for. What makes BHG different on that avenue for the bank?
One major point that, sets BHG apart as just a company is it does what it says it's going to do. I mean, if we're supposed to receive a new sample policy, we get that. If the average lives of the loans are supposed to be updated, we receive that. If there's an issue, it's followed up on extremely quickly. And probably the thing I like the most, it's in a manner that makes sense given that situation. And what might set BHG apart from other fintechs is that the burden of all this, just as I mentioned, is not huge. You review the loans, you purchase them, you set up a borrower and the loan in your system, and you send a wire, and that gets you up and running. Then, if a payment's missed, as I said earlier, you debit the checking account and notify collections. For us, as a CFO of a $600 million bank with a accounting department that has just 2 people in it, I review the loans prior to purchase. I buy them. I handle the management of the entire policy, which is not much. And then I manage the relationship on all other aspects. It's just part of my daily duties. And we haven't added a single person or any systems, again, to handle BHG as a relationship. There's been no investment on our part at all to be able to establish this. partnership at the level it's at today.
Awesome. Now, being the CFO, obviously you, do have to wear a lot of hats internally on the decisions that you make within the bank, especially to make the bank profitable. Currently, your BHG portfolio sits at around $10 million. From a dollar amount standpoint, just to give some perspective to the banks that are listening, where have you decided to cap your BHG concentration, or how does the bank look at that internally for what they're going to put into the BHG loan hub?
That's been an interesting topic over time here, that we first looked at it from a legal lending limit standpoint, and that didn't seem appropriate given how this relationship works. So what we've done is that our internal limit is based off of the idea that these are a concentration of credit. We use 25% of total capital, and the total capital ratio is Tier 1 capital plus Tier 2 capital. That's our threshold. Whenever we're looking at loan concentrations in our portfolio in general, we pull all of these loans out of their field. So if you have a doctor, they're not in the medical field, they're in the BHG loan concentration field, and view them as that.
Awesome. Thank you. And one other really important topic that I wanted to go over that's obviously very relevant in today's lending world and banking. How have the regulators viewed the portfolio when examining the bank and they take a look at the BHG portfolio that you hold on your system?
We have just in the past 3 months or so been through a safety and soundness exam and a compliance exam, and have had no issues whatsoever. The examiners have looked at the portfolio. They've asked a lot of questions, being inquisitive about it. The thing that seems to have made the biggest impact for us is that we have created our own internal tracking sheet that summarizes the portfolio. We present that to our board quarterly, and that seemed to go over well with the examiners. We've had no pushback whatsoever regarding any BHG or any part of the BHG relationship.
Awesome. Super important information. So moving on, just about, today's current environments and how, that relates to our partnership. So, from a risk standpoint, what has made the bank most comfortable continuing to purchase loans through BHG? And how do you assess that internally?
The earnings calls are really important to us. Our board listens to recordings of the earnings calls. BHG is extremely transparent with their financials. Anyone can see the success of their business model whenever you look at these earnings calls, and how far the quality of borrower has come over time. The company just continually works to make better loans, and just really seems to invest heavily in algorithms and such to make their loss levels extremely low. We feel like this risk with BHG is extremely low, given that we're making these loans like we are. Additionally, for us, we have 10 locations in Western Kentucky, and the ability to diversify our loan portfolio with a product we feel, again, has minimal risk makes us very comfortable. If there's a regional economic issue, we have a very serious problem, because the core of our loan portfolio is Western Kentucky. With BHG, those borrowers are spread out in numerous different industries and all across the United States. And so they're less likely to have a massive economic impact on all of our portfolio, given how they're laid out and in different industries.
Awesome. Fantastic. Yes, that is, definitely important. And I think for many of the community banks that we work with, being able to diversify in a very low risk way is one of the biggest benefits that we've seen having 1,500 bank partners. We obviously know that there are a lot of banks throughout the country that really only lend, in their backyard or where their footprint is. So that's a great point. I love to hear that from you, and that it's working out well. Moving on, during the current economic times, it's touching back to our last question a little bit. Why is BHG a good partner? Even continuing today, I know you said it was a low risk, but what is it that you're comfortable with as an outside program currently today?
BHG, they succeed as a company. You all succeed as a company whenever you make good loans. And so the desire for that being so large within BHG, I think makes this a good risk, because whenever they win, we win. They don't, with the amount of loans that are available out there to make for BHG today, they don't have to reach. It seems like that there's plenty of loans to go around to everybody in the program. If you want to buy a bunch, you can. So, that's really the thoughts on that, that I really feel like it's a good risk still today, given all of this.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Andy. I think, that wraps up our time today. Andy, I don't know if you have any closing remarks before we finish up today, but I just definitely want to say thank you, and I'll piggyback off of your closing remarks to close us out for the day.
Yeah, real quick, I'm willing to talk to anybody about my experience with BHG on a deeper level outside of this podcast. If somebody has interest in doing that, and I really recommend for this, if it's an unfamiliar territory to you, people can be unsure about it. We started small with our policy limits on how much we could buy. And then, as we got comfortable, we raised those policy limits. We've raised them twice since our initial policy. So don't be afraid to dip your toe in the water with this and kind of see how it works and understand it. And then find out if it's something that you want to move farther along with or not. But I really do appreciate you having me on here, Jordan. I'm glad to speak about this company and all of its successes and what we've been able to do together as partners.
Awesome. Thanks, Andy. Thanks for all of your insight and kind words on BHG. You, as well as the bank, have been phenomenal bank partners for the last couple of years. We really appreciate your partnership. Many more years of success in working together and it being beneficial. So thank you again. And also, Selena, thank you for having us. It's been super fun to join you on this podcast today, and we really appreciate it. My contact information, I know Selena has. Feel free to reach out to me with any questions. I know Andy is available. But yes, thank you again. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jordan, and thank you, Andy, for your time and giving us all that excellent information for our listeners today. There is additional information on KBA's website for BHG's Loan Hub. And Jordan, while we're together, do you want to give the audience your phone number, your email address?
Sure, definitely. My personal number that I can be reached at is 315-657-4431. Feel free to give me a call at any time with questions. And then my direct email is J and then my last name. So S as in Sam, OLLARS at BHG-INC.com. So it's J Sollars at BHG-INC.com. I'm more than happy to talk with anyone who has initial questions, who's interested in, talking to some references or getting in touch with Andy. Feel free. I am absolutely available at any point in time, and I'm really looking forward to the opportunity.
Thank you, Jordan, and thank you so much for BHG's support of KBA and all of our community bankers throughout the state of Kentucky. And until next time, this podcast is a wrap. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you for listening.